right, how's it going, everybody? Hopefully, everyone is enjoying this guide so far. I wanted to give you a little bit more of an interactive version of this gender unicorn and explain a little bit more how this worksheet can be used. I am going to use myself as sort of the example for this. And so, to give you some context, um, I'm going to fill this out and explain sort of why I fall onto these spectrums the way I do. Just a quick side note, if you are still struggling with remembering or you're unsure and you want a refresher on what these terms mean, if you go to the previous page and you double click on each of these sections, or whichever one you may be struggling with, it will pop up with a little definition of it just to give you a little bit of a refresher. So in case you are needing that, just flip back to the page and you will have access to that. So let's go through this worksheet. So the gender unicorn, each of these components is reflected here on the unicorn. And let's just start with myself. I'm just going to start here in the middle to explain this a little bit better with sex assigned at birth. So my sex assigned at birth is actually female. I'm going to indicate that with this X here. Again, sex assigned at birth is based on either chromosomes or anatomy, and usually we don't have a say in that. A doctor obviously assigns a sex at birth. Okay, so I'm going to move on up here to gender identity. So my sex assigned at birth was female. My gender identity as of today, as I am now as an adult, is male. I do not identify as female at all, regardless of how my sex was assigned at birth. And again, a gender identity is a person's internal sense of being male, female, neither gender, or both genders. And so this will vary for every person who fills it out. And for some folks, it may vary on a more frequent basis. But for right now, this is where I feel I fit. In terms of other gender, I also don't really identify with another gender. I primarily only identify as male. Okay. Let's look at gender expression. So again, this is how a person externally expresses their gender identity. And even at a young age, before I had transitioned and I had come out, my gender expression was always very masculine. I would say I'm not the most masculine, so I'm not going to put myself way in the end here. But I've never really expressed my gender in a feminine way. I am more now open to wearing colors and patterns that prior to my transition I was not comfortable with because I felt like it only further brought out the 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 female aspect of my gender identity, which at that time, prior to transitioning, I had no connection with, and so I chose to wear very very masculine clothing. I don't really have also an other gender expression. I don't. I typically am pretty pretty unexciting when it comes to how I express my gender. So we covered this already. Sex assigned at birth. Let's go down to these two down here at the bottom. These are related to sexual orientation, whereas these are related to obviously gender identity or gender. So in terms of sexual orientation, I learned at a young age that I was attracted to women. I also learned at a young age that this was something I shouldn't talk about, especially because I was raised female and socialized that way. I learned that this was something that got me made fun of and that I shouldn't talk about. And so I did not do that for a long time. I pretty much decided I was not going to disclose that information to people. Simultaneously, though, I never had any attraction to men, physical attraction to men. I always found myself wanting to be more like men, but not wanting to date one or never had any crush on any guys. Then the third thing here is other genders. I am very much attracted to, pretty much primarily attracted to women. I am also though not closed to the idea or the possibility that I would be attracted to folks who may not fit neatly within the male female, um, the binary. So it's again important to remember these are all spectrums. None of these should be polar all the time, right? And then emotional attraction. I am similarly attracted emotionally to women primarily. Where this varies from this physical attraction, though, is that I do have a desire, especially as I've transitioned from female to male, to have this connection with men. Um, Again, not romantically, but just as a friend. And the same thing goes with other genders. Um, I connect with people, I think, a lot based on experience and life circumstances, just because of the experiences I've had. And so my attraction to people and their story and just who they are, um, it is there regardless of gender. So again, this is how I filled this out for myself. For you, this may look completely different. The important things to remember, though, are that these are all separate um, categories. And so a person's gender identity or gender expression does not impact directly one of these others. So I'm going to give an example. My gender identity is male and my expression is masculine. But let's just say, for example, that my expression was more feminine and male. That does not automatically mean that I would be attracted to men. That's again going on stereotypes and things that we've seen in the media, and these things do not automatically impact that because this is all self um, presented information. How I choose to express my gender or my own gender identity does not automatically impact my sexual orientation, and vice versa. Just because at the time I was assigned female at birth and I was attracted to women, that did not automatically mean that I would transition to be male. So it's important, again, to remember these things are independent from each other and together they make up us as humans and our uniqueness, but they are not connected in terms of altering one of these will not alter another. So hopefully that helps and makes things a little clearer. Continue on through this guide. I hope this is helpful to you so far. And again, I highly encourage that you download this for yourself and give it a try. You can find it here at this website at the bottom.